in your happy place. Flip page by page, so many.
Book Birdees presents Ghoulia and the Mysterious Visitor, Book 2, read to you by Berlin. Written and illustrated by Barbara Cantini. The residents of Crumbling Manor: Ghoulia, Auntie Departed, Tragedy, Shadow, Granddad Coffin, Placid, Rotten, and Uncle Misfortune. The visitors to Crumbling Manor: Dilbert, Michael, Teresa, Sarah, Johnny, and Bruno. It was a dark and rainy night. Ghoulia was bored because her friends did not come to play at Crumbling Manor that day, or the day before, or the day before. Tragedy had been gone since dawn. When it rained, he always left Ghoulia behind to go hunting for frogs. Even Auntie Departed didn't want to spend time with Ghoulia. She was obsessed with gardening and only wanted to care for her chatterbox Ivy. According to her copy of Misunderstood Plants, the more you talk to a chatterbox ivy, the more it grows. Thanks to Auntie Departed non-stop chit-chat, the greenhouse had become a forest of ivy. Suddenly, the doorbell howled, and Ghoulia dashed to the front door to greet the unexpected visitor. A strange boy stood in the doorway. He wore very nice clothes and spoke in a peculiar accent. "You must be Ghoulia," he said.
"Yes, I am. Who are you?"
"I'm your cousin, Dilbert, from Fancy Manor. Your Auntie Departed invited me to visit. Didn't she tell you?" Auntie hadn't said anything, and Ghoulia didn't even know she had a cousin named Dilbert. As soon as Dilbert stepped inside Crumbling Manor, he started to complain. "The front door is too narrow, the living room is too stuffy, the sofa is too stiff." Dilbert parked himself in the living room, shooed away Shadow the cat, and demanded a hot pumpkin juice with 3 cubes of crystallized ginger and a sprinkling of spider eggs. Appalled at his rudeness, Ghoulia got Dilbert his extravagant drink, and then she scurried off to find Auntie Departed. She wanted to know why Auntie had invited such a cranky cousin to visit. But Ghoulia couldn't find Auntie Departed anywhere. She wasn't in the greenhouse, where all Ghoulia could see was a sprawling mass of ivy. Ghoulia asked Uncle Misfortune, but he hadn't seen her in days. She asked Granddad Coffin, but he hadn't seen Auntie either. And he was mad because she had left him in the middle of a game of chess.
What a grouch!
Ghoulia was on her way back to the living room to tell Dilbert about Auntie Departed's mysterious disappearance when the doorbell howled again. Ghoulia rushed to the door to find her friend Michael standing there. He thanked her enthusiastically for the invitation. Ghoulia was happy to see him, but she hadn't sent him an invitation. Michael showed Ghoulia the invitation, written on Auntie Departed's stationery in messy handwriting. "You are cordially invited to a formal surprise dinner this evening at Crumbling Manor." It was signed in the same scrawl, "Auntie Departed." This all seemed very strange to Ghoulia, but perhaps Auntie had been planning to surprise her. She didn't have time to think about it further before the doorbell howled again and again and again. And again, one by one, All of Ghoulia's friends arrived at Crumbling Manor, each holding the same invitation. Tragedy returned from catching frogs. When he saw Teresa, he dashed upstairs to spruce himself up. He had a big crush on her. Whenever she was around, he tried to be the perfect gentleman. Ghoulia introduced her friends to Dilbert. He rolled his eyes, then looked down his nose at them with disinterest. Ghoulia told all her friends that she had not sent the invitations, that no dinner had been prepared, and most important, that she was very worried. Auntie Departed had vanished into thin air. Suddenly, piano music began playing from somewhere in the manor. Ghoulia led the way down the hall.
Follow me. It might be Auntie.
The children were both afraid and excited as they followed the music deeper into the manor. On the way, Dilbert complained that the tune wasn't up to his standard. The song led them to the music room. Ghoulia carefully opened the door, and the music became deafeningly loud. The room was very dark, and Ghoulia couldn't see who was playing. Everyone hid behind Ghoulia as she walked around the piano and found herself staring straight into the eyes of Tragedy. He winked at Teresa, who giggled and blushed. One mystery solved, the children turned their attention back to Auntie Departed's disappearance. Ghoulia decided to treat the dinner invitation as the first clue. She asked everyone to tell her more about receiving the invitations. Dilbert had received his invitation 2 days before. It was delivered by a carrier bat and neatly written instead of a messy scrawl. All the others had received theirs earlier that same day. Michael found his on the branch of a tree just outside his bedroom window. Johnny found his in his vegetable garden among the radishes. When Sarah got home from school, she found hers in the hedges next to her front door. Bruno found his near his treehouse, and Teresa, where was Teresa? The scary music started to play again, and Ghoulia's friends panicked.
Stay calm,
said Ghoulia.
It's probably just Tragedy playing for Teresa again.
But then Tragedy peered out from behind the armchair by the fire. The children raced to the music room. When they stormed inside, the music suddenly stopped, and there was no one in sight. All they found was one small ivy leaf. There was no sign of Auntie Departed or Teresa. Now, with 2 people missing, Ghoulia launched a full investigation.
Crumbling Manor is filled with ghosts, but they're all my family. There is nothing to be afraid of. Teresa probably wandered off and lost her way, and Auntie Departed probably went to visit one of our distant zombie relatives without letting anyone know. Everything is going to be okay.
Ghoulia told her friends this to keep them calm, but secretly she was becoming very afraid herself. The group split up to search the manor. Ghoulia teamed up with Tragedy, who was far more concerned about Teresa than Auntie Departed, and climbed the creaky staircase toward the attic. Dilbert thought Ghoulia's search was ridiculous and totally boring, so he left the group. He returned to the dining room for another helping of pumpkin juice. Johnny and Bruno wandered the second-floor hallway. Sarah and Michael set off to explore the first floor. They walked past the greenhouse where the ivy grew out of control. When the grandfather clock struck midnight, the friends met in the front hall. No one had found Teresa or Auntie Departed or any new clues. They were all extremely worried, and even Ghoulia didn't know what to do next. They went back to the dining room to update Dilbert, but there was no sign of him. His pumpkin juice had gone cold on the table. Now there were 3 people missing in Crumbling Manor. They searched the halls for Dilbert. Finally, they heard some mumbling in the distance, and they followed the sound to the greenhouse doors. There, they found Dilbert, ranting about the ugly greenhouse. He blabbered on and on and on about how much he hated the ivy, how overgrown it was, and how badly it needed to be pruned. As Dilbert complained and complained, the chatterbox ivy withered away before their very eyes. By the time he was finished ranting, the plant was almost completely dead. Ghoulia pushed open the greenhouse doors to find Teresa and Auntie Departed. They were tangled in the withered vines, and both looked dreadfully pale. Ghoulia and her friends freed Auntie Departed and Teresa. They gathered in the kitchen, where Auntie Departed told them the whole story of the chatterbox ivy. The ivy grows happily when it hears compliments, but if it grows too large, it transforms into an incredibly dangerous carnivorous plant. Species: Hetera of the Araliaceae, carnivore family. Common name: chatterbox ivy. Hetera blabberans grows well when exposed to long daily conversations. The ideal fertilizer comprises of daily compliments in relations to its appearance. It fears insults. If kept trimmed, this plant provides good company. Once fully grown, the chatterbox ivy becomes very intelligent. It studies its companions closely to take advantage of them and attract potential prey. Auntie Departed's ivy had set its sights on Ghoulia's friends. Auntie realized too late that she had been spending too much time chatting with the chatterbox ivy, and it had turned into a carnivorous plant. But thanks to her handy copy of Misunderstood Plants, she discovered in the nick of time that a boring conversation or a good dose of insult will kill the ivy completely. She quickly sent an invitation via carrier bat to the crankiest person she knew, Dilbert. His complaints would surely kill the ivy quickly. When the ivy noticed Auntie's sending the invitation, it took advantage of the situation. The chatterbox ivy trapped Auntie Departed in its vines and then wrote invitations to Ghoulia's friends. It delivered the letters using a route system. Once all the children arrived at Crumbling Manor, the ivy started to devise ways to trap each of them. For instance, it noticed how Tragedy's piano playing impressed Teresa, so it played the piano to lure her in. When Dilbert arrived at Crumbling Manor, he didn't know that he had been invited as a natural weed killer, but Auntie Departed was already trapped in the greenhouse, and it was too late for her explanations.
Hooray for Dilbert! Cried Ghoulia. You solved the mystery and defeated the chatterbox ivy.
For the first time since arriving at Crumbling Manor, Dilbert had nothing to complain about. He was proud of himself for saving the day. Maybe Dilbert would get to visit Crumbling Manor again soon.
And maybe I'll get to visit Dilbert at Fancy Manor. Tragedy loves road trips.
The end.
Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Tap the bell to be notified for new video uploads. Thanks for watching and joining me on my reading adventures. See you next time on Book Birdies.